Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Makita's making a lot of saws. They have a lot of saws and I have a lot of their saws, okay? But on this episode, we're gonna be talking about this one right here, which has been pretty much my workhorse or my favorite saw or my go-to saw, the one I use pretty much all the time, okay? The model number on this one is XSR01, so stick with us. All right, you guys, so in case you couldn't tell, this saw has been really used a lot, okay? This is pretty much my go-to saw. This is my workhorse. I use this saw mainly because it's my favorite saw. Why is it my favorite saw? Mainly because, I just feel like it's really refined, it's rear handle style, and it's been out for quite a long time, and I've had it since it first came out. So it gets used constantly. We've used it for framing, with a diamond blade, cutting concrete, cutting cement board, all kinds of stuff, okay? So this saw has been heavily used in case you couldn't tell, okay? Anyways, the model number on this one is XSR01, okay? So we're gonna go look through some of the stuff and I can go ahead and give you some of the pros and cons of it. But one of the things I will go ahead and say is this is a great saw if you're looking for a worm drive style saw. This one is not necessarily worm drive, but it's a rear handle, so people say it's worm drive style, right? I'll definitely pick something like this up, okay? Actually, now they've made newer models. I'm not sure if I would pick this one up in particular, mainly because they do make this saw in a XGT lineup, which is their 40-volt lineup that uses a single battery versus two batteries. What's the main benefit of that? Mainly, they're pretty much the same voltage, but you only have to use one battery, so it does make it a little bit lighter. If you do put a bigger battery on there, obviously it's gonna be offset, but if you have one or the other, I probably wouldn't go out and buy one or the other just to replace it because it's pretty much the same saw, okay? So, but in this today's episode, we're going to be talking about this XSR01. So let's go ahead and get through some of the marketing hype. This saw is powered by two LXT batteries, meaning it runs two 18-volt batteries in series, making it pretty much a 36-volt saw, okay? It has a Makita built electronically controlled brushless motor and runs at around 5,100 RPMs. Pretty much no load speed, that's how they rate those. And it's brushless, so it doesn't need brushes. You don't need to replace any of that stuff. It does have automatic speed change technology, so it kind of adjusts the cutting speed and torque depending on the feedback that it really senses it or not. And it has a 2 9/16 cutting capacity at 90 degrees, 1.5 inch at 53 degrees, and 1 3/4 inch at 45 degrees, okay? Overall length, because it is a rear handle saw, it does seem to be longer than top handle or sidewinder style saws. It will be about 17.5 inches, and with two batteries, it will weigh 12.4 pounds. So it is not a light saw. Obviously, it uses two of the LXT batteries, and it comes with a 3-year limited warranty. All right, you guys, so I've used this saw quite a bit. It's pretty much, like I said, my go-to saw. So I'll bring you in closer and let's go ahead and look at some of the details. All right, you guys, so let's take a closer look at this saw, all right? So here is the left side of the saw if you're holding it, okay? Left side of the saw, nothing too special going on there. It does have, obviously, the blade guard, and it's spring-loaded, and on the inside, it has like that rubber stop, such that if you let it go, it doesn't click metal on metal, it clicks rubber, metal on rubber, okay? The base is a magnesium base, so it is fairly durable, fairly lightweight. And one of the best things I like about the saw, or at least the rear handle style saws, is that the depth adjustment is really nice and easy to see, right? Because on a top handle saw or a sidewinder saw, you kind of have like this handle or the blade assembly or whatever in the way where it's kind of sandwiched between both, and you kind of have to like look at certain angles or whatnot. But I'm not sure how many people actually look at it that way. Usually most people just set it by measuring the blade, or they just like let it go and put it on top of the material they're trying to cut, right? And they just like look at where the blade is, right? So in that manner, it's not too much of a big deal. But getting to this, like especially if you're wearing gloves or something like that, it's significantly easier because you can get it to it fairly easily because there's no like crevice or whatever you're trying to get between. So that actually is very nice, okay? And even with a bunch of sawdust on it, it does appear really, really well, okay? It does have a rip guide place. If you do use a rip guide, you can put it in right here. And like on most of the circular saws, it's only one place, right? Like in a track saw, you'll see it in here and here, but in a circular saw type thing, you'll see it right here. Okay, so moving on to the back, there's not too much or anything interesting going on the back here. I mean, it's pretty standard Makita grip. The safety part of it is ambidextrous, so you can use it left or right. The trigger obviously works with that, and it does have a tether hook here. Okay, so the thing to say about this is, if I'm a right-handed person, this is great, right? Because my right hand is here, my head is right here, right? So I can really see. Line of sight is super easy with this saw, or at least these types of saws, right? Or what? Maybe I said that backwards. But it is really nice. But if you're a left-handed person, and I'm holding it with my left hand here, right, like so, then it's really difficult to kind of get a good sight on it, right? Sure, you could like look at it this way and look at the sight lines here in the front, right? But usually, if you're framing or cutting most like 2x lumber or framing lumber, you can do like drop cuts and things like that. You're not really holding it like this, just looking at it really close, right? If you're doing like a lot of rip cuts through sheathing, like heavy sheathing or whatnot, you'll probably do something like that. But anyways, just keep that in mind. So let's go ahead or go around to the back of the saw. So the back of the saw, nothing too special here. Here's where your two batteries fit in. You could probably see some of the internal, not the internal, but the back side of the blade assembly ordeal going on there. It does have the spring loadedness going on there. It does have this very nice rafter hook, okay? And this rafter hook does fit around like a double stack 2x framing material, right? So you don't have to worry about like, sometimes you see rafter hooks are like really tiny that will only fit on something like a 2x4 or something like that, right? This will fit on both, okay? And the rafter hook is fairly nice, meaning in terms of it doesn't just automatically fall down. It's got like indents or whatever you want to call them, such that it will stay there or stay in that area. Some rafter hooks you'll see, they'll just like slide up and down freely, and it sometimes gets annoying because you put it on like a rafter or whatever you're working on, and it's like, you're kind of afraid that if it turns low too much, it'll fall down or something like that. But anyways, this is not necessarily that case, okay? This is where the motor is, and the motor assembly is on this part. It is not necessarily in line with the saw, making it, if it was in line with the saw, you would have like a worm gear, and that's why they call it like a worm drive saw. This is not necessarily a worm drive saw because the motor is perpendicular to the saw, right? So it is not a direct drive. It actually, I think it's like a high point drive or something like that. I have to go look it up what it is, but here is the motor. And this one, like I said, this saw is fairly old. I believe it's probably one of the first rear handle saws on the market. So I feel like they probably should release a newer one, which they did on the XGT platform, but it's pretty much going to be the same saw. I did get a chance to use the XGT model, and I believe, I didn't look at the specs or anything like that yet, but it just automatically feels like it's smoother and it has a higher speed. So I don't have that saw right now, but I did get a chance to demo it. But anyways, that's just what I'm thinking. But this by no means is no slouch. We still use this saw all the time, okay? There's nothing really wrong with this saw. On the top, it's got this nice single button check both battery type system, right? It's also got this really nice handle, which I normally don't use because we were just doing like drop cuts on framing lumber, okay? On the front here, it's got a really nice beveling assembly, right? So it's a single lever design, and it's nice mainly because it doesn't use screws that you have to screw all the time, and you only have it in this one place. Some saws you have to use screws, right? And you have to turn it, and some saws have screws in front and back, okay? This one is just a single lever, and that is fairly nice. One thing I do think that they could make improvements on is this beveling alignment pointer or measure, whatever you want to call this thing, right? So for instance, the way that it really works is it's got like this pointer sticking out here, and when it levels or when it bevels, it kind of lines up, right? So you kind of have to say, okay, well, kind of lined up here, so it's at whatever this degree is, right? It would be nice if they did make maybe this pointer like a different color just to make it stand out more. Yes, I'm really just nitpicking, but I mean, I believe they could probably make some updates on this saw if they really wanted to. Like most Makita saws, it does have a really nice quick stop or quick positive stop adjustment for beveling, right? So if I beveled it here, right? If I put the stopper here, and this one right now is set to 53 degrees, right? So if I beveled it to 50 degrees, it stops automatically at 53 degrees, okay? I don't have to guess saying, oh no, is that 53? Is that 52? I don't really know, you know? Automatically stops at 53. If I do move it, let's say I think 45 is on this side if I remember. 45, it'll go out of 45 degrees, no issue, right? Automatic, quick. I think, yeah, 22, right? So that one actually is really nice, okay? And they do that on most of the Makita saws, and it works out fairly well, okay? Another thing they do, like for instance when beveling, let's take this bevel back around to here. So take a look at this blade guard assembly thing right here. See how it sticks out? It's actually designed like that on purpose, mainly because if you are beveling, watch. It does actually move that blade guard up quite a bit. So it does help it to stop it from catching. I still have the blade guard catching every once in a while depending on what kind of lumber and things that you're cutting, okay? So that is actually just a small, nice touch, okay? So now let's go back to this business end of the saw again, right? So this is depth cut and here's the blade assembly. One thing that really, really annoys me about this saw is that the blade wrench that they include has no place on this saw for storage. For the longest time when I first got the saw, I was like, man, I must be missing, I must be stupid because I can't figure out where you put that blade wrench on this saw, right? And it's like, and go through the manual and I was like, it just doesn't exist. Maybe you just don't carry it with you. I don't know what it is. Right now, if you ask me, where's the blade wrench? I probably can't tell you. I'm pretty sure it's in one of these toolboxes somewhere, but it's not on the saw. I can guarantee you that. But anyways, it's not too much of a big deal, mainly because you can go ahead and loosen it up since it is just like a bolt. You can either get some kind of wrench or a crescent wrench or whatever. Some people get impact sockets and just change the blade out. But I will go ahead and say the blade wrench itself is really nice, mainly because it is a wrench, not an Allen key or a hex key or whatever you want to call it that fits in the bolt. Right? It actually goes along the outside, allowing it to fit better and getting more leverage and more heavy duty. So I do believe that in itself is really nice. I just really wish they would put somewhere on this saw to store that. I do believe in the XGT model they have a storage for it somewhere on the back side of here, I think. Go look it up. But on this model, or at least the first generation model, it does not have that, okay? So that's pretty much in and around the saw. We'll get to the part where everybody really wants to know now, the performance, okay? So I've used this saw quite a bit and I have a very good feel for the saw, mainly because it's my go-to saw all the time and it works really well. I will go ahead and say I'm not sure if it's probably the most powerful on the market now. It's probably starting to show some kind of age in a way, but we'll go ahead and put it on the track and then we'll get the numbers and we'll be right back. And we're back. So now let's take a look at the numbers. We added it here, okay? Model number XSR01. It is on the LXT platform. It's a 36 volt saw the way we tested it, and we tested it with a 5 amp hour battery, okay? So two 18 volt 5 amp hour batteries in series equals one 36 volt 5 amp hour battery.
case you're wondering how that really math works out. Okay, it is a rear handle style saw, and the no load speed is about 900 RPMs lower than the top handle 36-volt saw. Okay, that will probably affect the number, so just keep that in mind. At 90 degrees, the depth of cut is at 2 9/16. So when we ran the test on a double stack of LP Top Notch 350 subfloor, which is 23/30 seconds thick, okay, the two of those stacked, the first run came in at about 5 seconds, second run came in at 5 seconds, third run came in at 6 seconds, okay? So we're taking pretty much the average of 3 runs. I'm sure if you tested it enough times or whatever way you want to do it, you could probably get 3 5s, but we're really just going with, we're running it 3 times and averaging the 3, okay? And the 3, if you look at it, it's pretty very close in terms of the way it was done, same user, same style, same way, okay? So if you average it out, it comes out to about 5.33 seconds for the XSR01 saw to rip about 4 feet of 23/30 seconds double stack OSB subfloor. Okay, so that's actually not bad. That's pretty good. My personal opinion about this saw is that you can obviously tell if you've been using some of the other saws hand in hand that the RPM on it is a little bit lower. That's one of the first things I noticed immediately when I started using some of the other saws. But anyways, let's move on to when we stacked another piece of the Top Notch 350. So it's a triple stack of LP 350, 23/30 seconds. The first run came in at about 8 seconds, second run 8 seconds, and run 3 also came in at 8 seconds. So if you average it out, the average of that is obviously 8, okay? So if you add both of the numbers up, okay, we got a total performance of around 13.33 seconds. That actually is pretty good if you think about what it was actually doing on batteries. Okay, battery technology has come a long way, and cordless has come a long way. So it actually puts it right here on the board. Okay, like I said, one of the first things I noticed immediately was the RPM is just a little bit lower, but I do personally prefer the rear handle style saw because it allows you to do a bit more flexible, and it allows you to do certain things that easier that you probably wouldn't be able to do as easily or as comfortably when using like a sidewinder or top handle style saw, right? Like certain things you do, like if you want to get an absolute straight cut on a 2x4 or 2x6 frame tail, you just line it up and you just drop the saw, right? Versus like just trying to push the saw through. That's generally how we cut like framing lumber, or at least how I do it, because it seems more easier and flexible that way. You don't have to worry about, you know, putting a framing square next to it and then pushing it through. You just put it on the front line of the saw, you drop it, bam, cut, done, right? That's probably one of the easiest things. The other thing is you're also just a little bit further away from the saw because it is a rear handle style saw. So if it is kicking back dust and stuff everywhere, you are just a tad bit further away from it, okay? So now let's talk about some of the stuff I don't like about the saw. And I can say this pretty fairly because, like I said, I've been using it for a while. Obviously, the blade wrench, no storage on board, that's just a bad failure. I'm not sure how that passed, or maybe there is a way to do it, I just don't know, to store it on there. The other thing is the dust chute. It doesn't have any sort of dust collection mechanism, as you can see, as built into most of the other Makita saws, okay? I think there's like either a European or some other model that has like a dust chute near the handle or somewhere. There's a different model that exists that does have that, but the US model XSR01 does not have that option, okay? And if you look at the amount of sawdust and stuff that's coming out of this saw, it's pretty bad. There's a lot of stuff coming around, right? And if you're doing a long rip cut, it just starts to pile up on the back of the saw, okay? Granted, most of the people using this, a rear handle style saw, it's going to be using it on like a job site doing, let's just say, framing or whatnot, and most of those people are not going to be worrying about dust collection, so that's fair. But a lot of times if you're working indoors, or let's just say you're working in I don't know, like a basement or something, and you're trying to keep the dust down, or even if you're framing out a basement, or you're working to build out the basement or whatever it is, I mean, dust collection definitely helps. So that's obviously something we like to see improved on the saw. Obviously, if they could increase the speed, the no-load speed of the RPM, I think that would definitely help. Like we said, this saw is pretty fairly old. This is one of the first rear handle style cordless saws on the market. So if they do make an update, that would be awesome. I think they do have an update on the XGT platform that I got hands-on use, and it seemed to have a higher RPM speed. So maybe they did do it with that, but not sure if putting a little more RPMs on the saw and adding a dust chute is going to be warrant an update from the Makita folks on this particular saw. Also, the other thing to note on here is, unlike most other cordless rear handle style saws, which take a diamond arbor, this saw actually takes the standard 5/8 inch arbor that you would get on almost any other cordless circular saw, right? Like if you're using the Milwaukee or the DeWalt or some other saw like cordless saw, or actually like the skill saw like Max 77 or whatnot, those things actually take like diamond blades, right? Meaning you knock out the center of the circular saw blade and it becomes diamond. But on this saw, it does take the standard round 5/8 inch arbor, so that's actually a little bit more convenient because you don't have to like knock it out or whatnot. Sometimes they get a little bit difficult to knock out, but that is convenient, so to say. But not that it really matters too much, because I'm not sure how much slippage or more stability or whatnot comes from having a diamond arbor, but it seems to work fine. So like we said, performance number speaks for itself. Is it the best tool? I mean, there's really no best tool on the market. Best tool is so subjective. Best tool is whatever really works for you. What do you have available to you that you can use comfortably and get the job done? A lot of people like to say, ooh, this saw is faster by like 0.3 seconds. It's the best saw. Well, I mean, yeah, it's maybe the fastest cutting saw, but I mean, is it really the best saw for you? Really, I would say it's a great saw. If you're into the worm drive style or rear handle style saws, it's a great saw, and if you're on the Makita platform, that'll probably be a good one to get to. Would I buy it now? Most likely not, mainly because I would buy into the XGT platform if I could. But like I said, we've had this saw for a while, so it is there. But if you don't plan on getting into the XGT platform soon, because maybe, I don't know, they don't have enough tools or anything like that, you want a worm drive style saw and you're in the Makita lineup already, it's probably a good saw, right? It's my go-to saw. Is it the fastest? Probably not. Is it comfortable to use? Definitely. Is it easy to use? Definitely. If you have Makita batteries, is it great? Definitely. I mean, there's just so many other things I like about the saw, but like I said, hope this video has helped you guys out. Here's some helps you guys make like a buying decision, or maybe you have different experiences with saw. Just let me know. So anyways, hope this video helps you guys out, and I'll see you guys next time.